right, sorry, y'all. We're gonna have to redo a little bit of that. Hey, this is Dave from Gravity Wiz. Today's workshop is about Gravity Shop. Gravity Shop is our new product line that is exploring all the ways you can integrate Gravity Forms with WooCommerce. The first exploration of that is going to be our new product, Gravity Shop Product Configurator. Product Configurator allows you to embed a Gravity form into a WooCommerce product and configure that product based on the numerous fields and integrations available to Gravity Forms. Again, it's going to put the entire Gravity Forms ecosystem at your disposal and just merge them as seamlessly and natively as possible. All right, with that said, and without further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over to Clay, who will give us all a very comprehensive demo of this upcoming product.
Awesome.
And I'm going to pin you here. There you go.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I do have a pretty gnarly cough, so if you see me mute my mic every now and then, that's probably why. All right. So we have a few sections here on our agenda. We'll go ahead and start with the basics. So what is Gravity Shop Product Configurator? I'm not going to say that every time. So we'll call it GSPC. What does it do? So like David said, it's going to bridge the flexibility that we're all familiar with and love from Gravity Forms with the incredible robustness and prowess of WooCommerce's e-commerce capabilities. So more specifically, pair Gravity Forms and all the forms you can build, all the feeds you can have with the capabilities of what WooCommerce can do with all the payment gateways it has, how well it handles shipping, taxing, and reporting, and so on. The WooCommerce ecosystem is quite large, as we all know. I do have this special call out here, and I know a few of them are on this call, Devin and Matt. I know I pestered you guys quite a bit during very early alpha testing, and your feedback and testing was just incredibly valuable, so thank you for that. All right, so I already have a demo site here, but I'll kind of run through what I set up. The gist of it is that you'll create a product in WooCommerce in addition to a form and Gravity Forms with Product Configurator. So if I go to the admin, I'll go to the form to start with. We're going to be selling magic wands, very on brand. This is in window. And here we have a few product fields, including a regular field, just a single line text. So these product fields can dictate prices. Here you're choosing a wand core. Shout out to all the Harry Potter fans. These have different prices, and then you can select a wand handle, and then optionally add an engraving to your wand. And finally, we have a total field here just so people can see what the price is as they configure it. But yeah, that's everything that there is on the form. I'll go to the products now. Magic wand. And with the help of ChatGPT, came up with a nice little product description here. One important thing to note here is I've set the regular price. WooCommerce actually will not show an add to cart button unless you have a price configured. This can even be 0. But just for the sake of demonstration, I actually added a price here that we'll kind of consider a base price. And then there's a new panel under just this configuration for Gravity Forms. Here you select the form. I've already selected it. But once you select the form and save, what it's going to do is create a feed for Product Configurator. And I've clicked this link, open Product Configurator settings. It took me to the feed. And here I can see the actual feed settings for Product Configurator. This is really cool because we can leverage just how great the Gravity Forms feed, payment, and settings APIs are to do some really neat things in here in terms of mapping fields, conditional displaying, and so on. The other really nice thing is you can share this form really easily with multiple products, and eventually we're going to explore specifying forms for entire product taxonomies, but that's not quite in here. just yet. All right. I don't think we need to do anything here. Let me reconvene with my notes. One thing I did want to note is in the form, we added some product fields and a total field, but those are not required. You can actually do any combination there. You can do regular fields. You can do just product fields. And then finally, you don't need a total field. Product configurator can calculate everything without it. All right. Let's go ahead and check out the product. Here's that base price of $2. We have a product here selected for the wand core, which is dragging our string for $8. No handle, and then engraving. Nothing in here. So cool thing is this total's $10. But notice we never added a product in the form for the base price. This is just automatically handled to give you an accurate total of what's in the product. All right. And if I update this, then of course that's going to add additional amount. So I'll go ahead and add this to the cart. And now we can see it over here in the mini cart. I'm using the storefront WooCommerce theme. I'll go to view cart now. And we can see that I selected the wand core and the wand handle. And then I can go ahead and check out here. I just have it configured for free shipping right now. My test data entered in here. I'm using the cash on delivery payment gateway. It's really handy for testing. As soon as I check out, I'll actually put the order status in processing, which is essentially paid for. All right. Oh, yeah, I just want to reiterate, you can see all the cart here as well. I'll place the order. Now, you can see it in the order details. So essentially, we're taking this entry meta, it's getting embedded into the cart item, and now the order. And the way we do that is we have references to the original entry. We're actually not saving items to the cart item and the order items like some of the competitors do. And the really nice thing is this means you have one entry from start to finish. We don't delete the entry, we don't duplicate it or anything like that. So in terms of integrations with GP nested forms, and we'll talk about this a bit later, it's just a lot more predictable and reliable. And it also means you can, if you want to get this entry at any point, you can get the entry and query it. Nothing crazy is going to happen to it. All right. I'll go ahead and go to, I may be getting ahead of myself, but I'll go ahead and go to WooCommerce orders. We can see here that this order is processing. Click into it. We can see the order details here as well. There's a link to view the Gravity Forms entry. I can go ahead and click this, and you'll notice that there's a link back to the order from here. And then this base product gets injected as a product in the order summary. Then finally, we're leveraging Gravity Forms' payment add-on. Like I said, this is kind of built on top of the feed add-on API as well as the payment add-on API. So this enables some really neat things with feeds we'll also get into. Here we can see that the status is now paid. The date, the transaction ID is actually the WooCommerce order ID. And now here's the amount, and this is the order total. Okay, I think that's the end of this section. Let me open up chat and find it. Any questions I should stop for, David or Cole?
No questions that need to be stopped for, but I am, just for the sake of everybody who may not be following along in chat, I did want to go over some of the questions that have been asked, such as, will Gravity Shop fields be included in WooCommerce reporting? Currently, I don't think that is supported, but it sounds very interesting and definitely something that we'd like to look at. So if you have a use case around that, please do reach out, and we'd just love to hear more. We also had a question about, basically, if you go back, Clay, could you show them the actual form configuration for this form? So you can see there that the WAN core is a product field and only pricing fields. Can you actually go to the add fields, pricing fields section? So all of these fields, these are the only fields that can actually affect the product, the WooCommerce product total, because they affect essentially the entry total, which is used as the product total. But you can also add other fields, like what is the engraving field, Clay?
It's a single line text.
Perfect. So that's a great example where, hey, there's no additional charge for the engraving. So you can use any field to customize the product. But if that field carries a charge that is associated with it, or if that option has a charge that is associated with it, you will need to use one of the pricing fields or integrate it with a pricing field in a way that affects, again, that entry total, which will be used for the WooCommerce product total. And the last question I wanted to talk about right now was, does this work with nested forms? We're going to go into some of the perks that it integrates with out of the gate. I don't know. Are we covering nested forms today?
I don't have a demo set up, but I can set it up really quickly.
Don't even worry about it right now. But yeah, it does work with nested forms for anyone else that is curious. And Clay, you are good to move on, and I will continue answering questions in chat.
Sounds good. All right. Time for the next section, advanced features. So I kind of touched on the feed settings previously, but I'll go back into them and show a few of the settings. Go back to the shop page as well. So going through here, we have this setting here called display price. So since we've introduced gravity forms and all these product fields, the price doesn't really mean the same thing anymore, especially since you might set the price to 0 on WooCommerce and entirely control the price using selections and gravity forms. We made it possible to actually control the display price. And by display price, I mean this right here. And I think this will also show up in other various places depending on your theme. So just as an example, I think I can get this configured up to $55. So I'm kind of using that as the top range, and then the bottom range is, I believe, $10. So there's a few merge tags that display price will accept. You can do just price. This will intelligently select whether or not the product is on sale or not. You can use regular price, sale price. And then we have a cool merge tag that you can enter a modifier for called custom price. And the reason why this is a merge tag is because there's some special markup for the actual price. You'll see here that WooCommerce wraps the currency symbol, and that way you can style it differently. And then the number, there's just a specific markup here. It's a bit more fancy than just entering in your currency and then the number. So I'll go ahead and paste this in here. And then the next thing I wanted to show was the item meta display. So this is what gets displayed in the cart. I'll go ahead and just build something out here. Add to the cart. We can see here that it's just listing out the fields with their label, what was selected, and depending on other field types like checkboxes, it can do bulleted lists. So for the item meta display, if I select custom here, I can enter in a template, and this is just a simple string that accepts merge tags. So it's pretty powerful out of the box. David has even tested some of our neat snippets like conditional merge tags, which is really neat. But I'll keep it simple. I'll just say the wand core with whatever wand handle. And I'll go ahead and save. And now if I reload this page, let's see here. The mini cart gets cached in storefront. So I had to go to the actual cart. And now we can see that it's a dragon heartstring core with silver leaf handle. And then if I go back to the product, we can now see that this product or price range is in here. So it's super easy to customize. The next really cool bridging functionality, if you will, between WooCommerce and Gravity Forms is the ability to specify certain fields in your form to be mapped to the product. So the one I'm going to do here is weight, and actually I need to go back and add a number field. This is you're not going to give your customer this much control over the weight, but for the sake of illustration, I'll just add a new number field. I'll say weight, save it. I'll go to Product Configurator now, and we'll see that actually got automatically selected. I'll save it. Now, let me just double check. So I'm using the flexible shipping extension for specifying how much the shipping costs depending on the weight, and I'm going to just double check what those rates were. So I'll go in here, flexible shipping. And if it's anywhere from 0 to 1 kilogram, it's 0. And you can see here there's a variety of rules. So I'll go ahead and just type in 2. I'll add it to the cart. Like this. Just go and type 5 this time. All right, there we go. Flexible shipping, $12, because I entered in a weight of 5 kilograms, which means it's going to be in this category. So this is pretty cool because this is a core WooCommerce property on a product. So if you're using any other shipping extension that follows their APIs, like ShipStation, then you can ensure that you're charging the correct amount for shipping. We also support dimensions, so you can specify the width, length, height, and so on. Let's see. The other field that we can map right now is the image. So maybe you're printing something, a calendar, t-shirt, you name it, and you want to be able to display an image that's uploaded. So add a file here. File, upload field, sorry. Go to Product Configurator. I'll select File under Product Image. I'll go ahead and unmap this weight field. And now, go to Magic Wand again. Select a file, sparkles emoji, add it. Now in the cart, we can see that this is now the image. So this can be helpful in your receipts, your backend, just to kind of give a reminder of what may have been uploaded. And the next thing I wanted to cover under advanced features is quantity. So this is kind of a funny one, since there's this concept of quantity in Gravity Forms, but also quantity in WooCommerce. And depending on your setup, you might have a better reason for one versus the other. But I did want to call this out because it's, I think, an important philosophy that we're taking with quantity. So if you do have quantity enabled for your product in WooCommerce, depending on this quantity, this is actually how many entries get created. So we decided upon this for several reasons, but one that's easy to illustrate is unique ID. So say you're selling tickets or something with any sort of unique ID, you need to have separate entries to generate a unique ID for each one. Otherwise, you might need a snippet that can handle it. And we just thought that there's going to be so many of those scenarios where you need a snippet to account for multiple quantity that it's easier and just makes more sense to generate an entry for each. So I'll go ahead and add 5 to the cart here. And now if I go to Gravity Forms, entries in the back end, we'll see that 5 entries got added. By the way, we also have custom payment statuses for in-cart. You can see that the total is already added to it. And then when you do actually pay for the order, it'll progress through this. And now if I click into each of these, we can see that the unique ID is different. Another big reason for this is with GP inventory. So say you're using GP inventory to limit the inventory of something. If by having it mapped to the WooCommerce quantity, you can correctly decrease the inventory with GP inventory, which can be really useful for events and any sort of booking or reservation. I think that covers this field. Any questions? Sorry, section.
I just want to call out 2 The first was, you actually covered it, which is, yes, there is a special status when an entry belongs to an item in the cart, and that is just the in-cart status. And the other question was, when will this be available? We're going to talk a little bit more about this, but I just wanted to mention that, we're shooting for late July.
And before I move on, I do want to just show you some cool things. So if I remove this item from my cart, now if I refresh, all those entries just got trashed. If I undo it, all those entries just came back. We also have some logic around cart session length and expiration. So when my cart session expires, those entries, there's a cleanup job that'll automatically happen and delete those entries. It's pretty similar to how nested forms orphan entries work that never get submitted with a parent. So that's something that's top of mind for us. Is we know that by having these entries get created at the cart level, you might end up with quite a few entries. So we're just being cognizant of the fact that we should properly handle the life cycle of those entries, whether it's trashing, untrashing, cleaning them up, and so on. And we're also planning on making it configurable on whether or not we should generate an entry for each quantity or not, because we know, depending on your setup, that may be different.
Yeah, just jumping in there again, just to clarify on that. Currently, it already is filterable, but we are very likely, as we explore more and more use cases, we are thinking that it probably will be a setting on the feed to indicate whether or not multiple entries should be created, or an entry should be created per quantity ordered, or if the entry should be more like a template for each item. Also wanted to mention, we've seen a few people ask in chat about, can you test this now? You can just drop us a line via support and we can get you added to the alpha program. And then Bet, you asked about the in-cart status. Yeah, the status changes. It stays in sync with wherever the order itself is. So once the order is placed, if the order is on hold, for example, then the entry will show that status. If the order if the order has been completed and paid, then it will show paid here. And we did our best to use the equivalent Gravity Forms payment status for whatever the order status is. And we'll have a full list of those in the documentation. So if there's ever any confusion about the status, you can just reference that.
Awesome. Ready to move on?
Let's do it.
All right, next section. So David kind of alluded to this earlier, but the idea is that we really want to create a native app, if you will, for both ecosystems. So there are obviously competing products out here for this particular problem. And this really grew out of our own frustrations and support. It was honestly chewing up a ton of time for us. It was frustrating for our customers. And funny enough, we were sitting on over 6 years of product research for this, and it just felt like the right time. So with that in mind, there's a few things to go over in this particular section. So with Gravity Forms, we built this on top of the Payment Gateway API, which is built on top of the Feed API. And the Feed API is used for a lot of things like user registration, GP Google Sheets, limit submissions, you name it. So with it being built on the payment add-on API, transaction IDs are the WooCommerce order ID. And then because of this, you can do some things like deferring certain actions until something is paid for. So for instance, you can wait to send an entry to Google Sheets until it's paid for, or you can ensure that an order is paid for before you reduce the inventory in GP inventory. We literally just talked about this, but an entry is an entry. Again, we're not adding some pseudo entry to a cart item. You create the cart item. There's an entry associated with it. We take that entry ID, attach it to the cart item. That ID stays with it throughout the process. And then if someone abandons the cart, it'll get cleaned up eventually. But because of this, it does open up some really cool integrations with some of our other perks like GP notification scheduler. So if I go into notifications here, just to illustrate this, we register a few events. And first off, here's the default form and submitted event. We have a call out here that says this notification event is not triggered when a form is attached to a WooCommerce product. Kind of for obvious reasons here. It could get quite confusing and noisy. But we do add a few custom events. So added to WooCommerce cart, and then there's a variety as it progresses through the payment flow. So imagine with added to WooCommerce cart, you could wire this up with notification scheduler to have, a 24-hour delay and then send them an abandoned cart reminder. And then you could even add some conditional logic. I think you could need a snippet for it for the payment status, but basically ensure that it was added to the cart but not paid for before sending it. So overall, with this whole Gravity Forms and WooCommerce, like bridging, we went forth in the development very carefully with the form markup. This has been something that's historically pretty challenging with a competing product. It was just, hacky for lack of a better term, with how that Gravity Form got put into the WooCommerce add to cart form. And we made sure that when we did it, it'd be compatible with as many things as possible. For instance, like the Gravity Forms honeypot, populate anything, page transitions, and so on. We felt like we could do it better and maximize compatibility. So that's what we've done. As I say here, you can now have Ajax forms from Gravity Forms in your product, which allows you to use page transitions, which I'll show here in a bit. We've been working on this for a while, and we feel like we've built a really nice foundation to work on. We have incredibly powerful static code analysis using it's called PHP Stan. We're already working on the test suite before launch, but we feel that it's just a great foundation to build on, and we can't wait to add more things. And what we think will have a great velocity because of all this prep work that we've done. Let's see here, functionality. Yeah, so with the WooCommerce quantity and variations, I don't have a variation on this product, but we've actually made it so you can access the selected variation and the quantity in conditional logic. And I can show that here really quickly. I'll just use conditional pricing as the example. And then I'll say the wand core, if it's Dragon Heartstring, and the WooCommerce quantity, this is coming from GSPC, is greater than 5, then it'll be $5. So give them a nice little discount. Now if I go back here, it is worth noting this is a static $8 in here that I added to the snippet, so this is not going to update, but the total will. So as I increment this quantity, that just dropped from $10, 7. Once I hit 6, because we went from $8 on this one core to $5. Entry integrations. I kind of already showed this, but you can see here that this one wasn't checked out yet. But we can see the status, it's in cart. I can't click on the order quite yet because there is no associated order. But for this one, I can easily navigate between the two. We're trying to also post notes here so you can kind of see the status of what's going on. Yeah. Oh, and if there are multiple entries, then this actually gets changed to a View Gravity Forms Entries button, which will take you to a list of entries. And then finally, we have notification integrations, which I showed as well. I guess this is a natural stopping point before I get into showing off some cool integrations. Any questions?
So many questions. This has definitely been our most active chat. But I don't think that there's necessarily anything that we should address right now. I think I've answered everything, and we do have quite a bit of Q&A to go over as well. Is there anything else you wanted to go over, Clay?
I'm going to show some of these integrations really quickly. Really fast, Ian, because this entry, so we're not attaching the meta to the cart item or the order item. It's just the entry ID. If you update that entry, that naturally syncs to the order. Outside of the cost won't change, but the add-ons is kind of what WooCommerce calls them. These will update. All right. So page transitions. This one is probably one of my favorite integrations, if I'm going to be honest, just because of how nice it looks.
Hey, Clay, if I could actually interrupt you really quick. We actually have a couple people that are interested in that entry that you were just looking at. If you could, the order that you were just looking at, they were curious, just as it stands, let's just go wild here on the demo. What does that order look like in the WooCommerce reports right now?
Oh, man. Good question.
We're doing it.
None of this. These are not variations, just to be clear. Are there any particular places you want me to drill into?
Anyone who is interested in the reporting, I'd like to hear basically, what are you curious about right now?
And here we can see, like I said, those aren't variations. But there may be room for us to potentially integrate with this.
Yeah.
It's admittedly something I haven't done a ton of exploration on.
Well, it sounds like that's something we should explore a little bit later. Go ahead, Clay, move on to, what was it, page transitions?
Yeah.
Awesome. And just so you know, someone actually asked about that specifically already. So it's awesome that we're going to demo it.
Nice. All right. I'll go ahead and drop a page in here just to split the form. All right. I'll go ahead and click Enable Page Transitions, save the form. Go back to Shop. And one thing to note here is it does change the Add to Cart to select options since it's a configurable product. And now, look at those silky smooth animations, multi-page support with page conditional logic. The quantity button and Add to Cart are nicely put at the end. Let me go ahead and clear this out. Testing 1, 2, 3. And this, just as a reminder, this is an Ajax form. Added to the cart, and now it was added. So as simple as that. Honestly, not much to the demo there other than the fact that it just works. For the sake of time, I'm not going to do a full GP Google Sheets demo, but I do have a feed here. I'll go ahead and make this active. And again, going back to, I've said this a million times, but just with all the Gravity Forms APIs, there's so many cool things we can do. And Google Sheets integrating with Product Configurator is one of them. We'll now see that any feed that supports delayed, they're called, the terminology is a little bit fuzzy. It's either called like deferred payments, post-payment actions, or so on. But I can check this here since this is a payment add-on and say, hey, don't send this to Google Sheets unless it's been paid for. So there's some other add-ons that'll do the same. Like I said, user registration, where you could wait to give them an account until it's paid for. And those will all show up here. GP populate anything plus e-commerce fields. This is another really neat one. So we can see here, if I go back to the product, let me just go ahead and remove the page for now. We just have this total field. We don't get really a nice breakdown as we're configuring the product. But what I can do is add an HTML field with the power of populate anything's live merge tags and e-commerce fields order summary merge tag. I can just add that in here, save it, reload the product, and now looky here, we have a nice breakdown. I could potentially even remove this total field because it's a bit redundant at this point. But now as I change this, this will update, give us a nice total and breakdown. If I have any product options, those will be indented. And if I change any quantity in the actual form, it doesn't account for this WooCommerce quantity here. But yeah, we thought this was a nice integration. I already showed conditional pricing and the unique ID, so I guess it's time for Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Clay. That was excellent. And I got to say, there has been so much excitement in the chat. It is wild. I think that we should just release new products all the time. That will be the only thing that we demo. With that said, let me jump over here.
I think you'll need to reshare your screen, David.
Yep. I am working up to it. We actually got some good mid workshop feedback that just having the one window would make things a little easier rather than doing the split screen like we normally do. So I'm going to try it out right now, zoom in a little bit too, and we're going to hop over into the Q&A. So let's talk about the hard questions first, and then we'll get into questions from the community. So these are all things that we're kind of like, we anticipate there being some concern around this. And most of the people that come to the workshops are people that, like us. So we're eager for your feedback on these answers and just how they sit with you. But first of all, why isn't this a perk? Basically, this is like an entirely new ecosystem for us. We've already invested an insane amount of effort just learning WooCommerce, learning all of the plugins that exist in the WooCommerce ecosystem that we then want to make sure that we are integrating tightly with. So while we are actively mastering this new terrain, we're going to also absolutely need to hire new developers and support wizards to make this new product line thrive. Next up, how much will it cost? A lot of the pricing is still TBD. We're still kind of just looking at what the WooCommerce market looks like. But the number that we keep seeing again and again, and it feels like it would be a good place for us with this product, given the implications of what you can do with it, and also just the amount of support it will inevitably require. We're thinking to start at the $99 for a single site. One thing to note here is that unlike Gravity Perks, Gravity Shop products are not going to be a suite. You're not going to buy Gravity Shop or a Gravity Shop license. You will buy a license for each individual product. Product Configurator being, again, the first one that will be available with the launch of this product line. There is almost certainly we will release some sort of package option though for these, so that if you do you're like, look, we're going to use all of these products, then there will be a package option that will save you a ton of money and allow you to get access to the full Gravity Shop product line at a lower cost than buying them individually. This is the big one here. Is Gravity Perks dead? Heck nah. And yeah, like I absolutely went with the most extreme version of that question. But, I understand that concern that I think a lot of people are going to have is like, okay, you're doing a new product line now. Does that mean that Gravity Perks is going to kind of just fall by the wayside? Absolutely not. We are just deep in the Gravity Forms ecosystem, and we have it's nuts how many perk ideas that we still have and are still actively working on. So yeah, don't worry about that. And again, we're already looking to hire new staff preemptively ahead of the release of GS Product Configurator, with more to follow once it's out in the wild. Before I move on from that, I am curious, are there any questions related to any of those three big questions? Looking through here, I see we have a question about what other products are being talked about. I think the one that we're comfortable sharing right now is the ability to use a form, a standalone Gravity form, so it's not embedded in a product, to be able to essentially create bundles of products and add those all to the cart and check out with them. We don't really even have a name for that yet, maybe just bundler. I don't know. But I was actually on a really great call with a Gravity Perks customer yesterday, and they had pointed out that same product idea would actually work really well integrated with Product Configurator. So that way you could actually configure bundles as part of an existing product, which I was like, yeah, that's awesome. It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion that, we're at the very tip of a giant WooCommerce shaped iceberg. And I'm super excited about all the things that we can explore here. All right. Moving on to questions from our community. Farhad asked, I would like to know what exactly will be the difference of Gravity Shop and Gravity Forms product add-ons. First, I did want to explain again. I know this is going to be one of those things that we're probably going to have to handle on the marketing side, but Gravity Shop is the product line. Product Configurator is the product. So to answer the actual difference between Product Configurator and what I believe he's referring to is the WooCommerce Gravity Forms product add-ons plugin. Again, it's going to be a lot easier to use. If you looked at the UI for that one, there's just a lot of settings in there. And a lot of things, it just requires a lot of mental load to understand that product and then to implement it. And as you just saw from this demo, we've gone with the idea of trying to make really intelligent decisions that meet the needs of most folks. And then from there, the code base is super tight, very customizable, and we're going to have filters everywhere. And as always, we are 100% down to add additional settings, but we like to let customers tell us which settings they need versus, just loading it up with every possible setting that anyone could ever want. With that said, we also talked a lot about this handcrafted native integration here. I think that the strength of what we've done here is that we've been sitting on this idea for 6 years. We've just been listening and understanding the different issues that people have experienced with the current products out there that solve this problem. And I just think that I think we've hit a home run, to be honest. I think that having that much product research allowed us to integrate in a way that will speak to people that are more comfortable with WooCommerce by a tight integration on that side of things, and also following their coding standards using their APIs. And at the same time, completely honoring the Gravity Forms ecosystem and the way that Gravity Forms works. So when you're in either side of this, it's going to feel native to you and it's going to make sense. And again, as you use this, you will find that it just works in a way that the competition does not. Again, I mentioned this in chat. We have had to add dozens and dozens of fixes over the years to make the competition work with Gravity Perks. I think we made 1 or 2 tweaks to Gravity Perks to make it work better with Product Configurator. And for us, that just speaks volumes to how this is going to work in the larger ecosystem as well. Again, both on the WooCommerce side and the Gravity Forms side. Sorry for the long-winded answer there. I'm really passionate about that one. Chuan asks, it would be nice if you could show examples with product variations. This is something that we didn't fully cover, and we are still exploring the best way to support this. One of the ideas that we had is essentially letting a product in a field in the form take over the product variation fields that are added. Don't have too much to show on that right now, but would love to hear feedback from people that want to use product variations with this. Like I said, we're actively developing this. Despite what you've seen, we have many more plans for this perk. It is not a finished product. I just said perk. That's how long we've been doing Gravity Perks. That's how long we've been doing this plugin. Chris Hager caught me in chat. Sean asked, is it possible to use a search bar in Gravity Forms to find WooCommerce products? This sounds like it would be a better fit for the bundler product that I just mentioned. But yeah, you can do this now, to be fair, with Populate Anything. If you wanted to allow them to look up products and add those products to the current entry, to the current product through Gravity Shop Product Configurator, you could do that. The only issue right now is that it would be part of that product. So if you wanted to inherit inventory and the shipping that Clay was demonstrating, you would really ideally want that to be added as a separate product to the cart item. Again, super eager to explore these ideas though. is this compatible with the WCGF product add-ons plugin? It is compatible in the sense that they can both be operational on the same site. They cannot both be operational on the same product. Feels fairly obvious, but just wanted to cover all my bases there. How soon will this be available? We're hoping to release sometime in July, almost certainly late July. But you can see like we're pretty deep into the development now. Most of the stuff that we have left at this point before we're ready to release it is just marketing prep, getting the site ready to go, getting it on the site in a way that people can check out. And again, we've been selling just Gravity perks for so long that there is a lot of just admin that we have to work through to update our platform to sell multiple products, which is, again, something that we didn't necessarily envision 10 years ago. Joanna asked, does checkout go through WooCommerce? Yep. As you saw in the demo, the checkout still does go through WooCommerce. We actually have had several people reach out and ask about using a Gravity form as the WooCommerce checkout. Tell us more about that. That sounds like maybe it could be another product for the Gravity Shop product line. Wes asked, can Gravity Wiz be any more awesome? To which I humbly say, yes, we can. And that's why we wanted to branch into new territory, to explore new ways for us to be awesome. James II said, how will stock management work? Can we add additional WooCommerce products in the cart? Yeah, you can. You can add, again, it fully integrates with WooCommerce and their stock management. So you can add products on the fly. And then once they're added to the cart, you can increase the quantity as well. I did mention here that bundling additional products is not supported yet, but again, that is on our radar. John asked, I had this thought today, but can you get the WooCommerce checkout to be an actual Gravity form with the perks available? So I think I already kind of answered this actually up here, but yeah, we're interested. Tell us more about it. We hadn't really fully conceptualized this one yet. So if anyone else here wants to talk about that idea of using a Gravity form as the WooCommerce checkout, yeah, we want to hear about it. Mark and Ryan O both had very similar questions. Will it be faster than Woo, and will the integration cause issues with page speed? GSPC is very performant, though it's hard to say if it's faster than WooCommerce. I'm going to say probably it is faster than WooCommerce because it does its magic, and then WooCommerce has to do its thing separately. With that said, I do not anticipate any issues with page speed. I mean, if your form is loading slowly outside of WooCommerce, then this is not going to magically fix that. But if your form is performing very quickly outside of WooCommerce, then it will perform just as fast within the WooCommerce product. Jeremy H. asked, will this be dependent on having the Gravity Forms add-on for WooCommerce? Heck nah, this replaces it. Again, our goal is just to make a more intuitive and more native plugin to solve this problem. Shake and Bet asked, will it support multi-vendor plugins for WooCommerce, and also will the new product configurator work with membership products? So this is a part where we're still very early in the process as far as exploring the wider ecosystem. Our basic goal so far has just been to make sure that it aligns well with the WooCommerce way, where again, we're using all of the WooCommerce APIs to do everything that we're doing. There's no funny business. So in most cases, it will just work with other products. Now, with that said, I'm sure a lot of these products themselves add additional functionality that you may want us to integrate with. And in those cases, yeah, just more details. The most helpful thing you could do is test it with those products based on your specific use case, and then send us a support request so that we can look at it and better understand how we could support that. All right. That is it. Any questions in chat that we feel like are worth answering, Clay?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Hey, if anyone asks questions and we missed them, please do reach out to our support. We'll post another link in there. Cole, actually, could you post a quick link to our support just so that everyone has it? And other than that, yeah, just thanks so much for coming. Definitely super appreciate everyone showing up. Just one question I just saw in chat that I do want to answer immediately is, again, if you write to us today, we will give you access today. So you can test this immediately. And other than that, yeah, just thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate your time and your interest in what we're doing here. All right. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.